of the COVID-19. COVID vaccine is not only important but also necessary. From the beginning of the pandemic, everyone knew that we need a vaccine to stop it. Without it, the world would quickly fall into a crisis mood. We have been seeing all across the globe that countries without vaccines serve huge loss. Before the rollout of vaccine, there seems to be no end of the disease. It jumps from one country to another and killing countless numbers of people. There seems to have no ways to stop it, and even the government become helpless and had no solution to it. Just then and there, the world reached a consensus, that is, we are in desperate need of COVID vaccines. After a year's worldwide calamity, then most of the country were in lockdown. The COVID vaccine has finally and finally developed. The scientists have sped up the development process of COVID vaccines, but they still follow regular and standard procedure of experiments and trials on the subject with third, second, and third tests. And we are not including the MVC vaccine, which is made by Taiwan's company. The vaccine is developed by dead virus, which means it doesn't cause detect harm to our body. Once the vaccine is injected into human's body, the immune system will start to take effect, and this will make us have antibody without getting serious damage from the coronavirus. According to a research from University of Oxford, it states that people infected by COVID-19 virus will have higher rates of blood clots than those vaccine shots. What's more, it states that in a country that has been able to reach a herd immunity like America, they are now stepped back from the lockdown and have gotten back to new normal. Without the vaccine, national or context lockdown, jobs are lost, families are broken, and economy are destroyed. So we believe that the government should aware of the importance of it and do something in advance. However, there are a few small group of people who believe that taking the vaccine is harmful. But the truth is that those who are taking vaccines suffer much less and are not able to recover from ailments soon. Currently, Taiwan are proving enough doses of vaccine and people are able to choose various kinds of vaccines. Moreover, medical evidence from doctors and mixture of different vaccine shots are encouraged. In other words, we are not forcing people to take vaccine without only one choice or without prognosis from doctors. The government mandation policy is meaning to either increase the coverage of vaccines and to prevent the severity of infection and the spread of hospitalization. Again, we also know that new variants of coronavirus are continuously mutating, such as Delta virus and Omicron virus, and the world are now suffering a new wave of pandemic. In this regard, we believe that Taiwan government should maintain a COVID-19 vaccination so as to secure the bottom line and the functions of the country. Finally, we believe that scientists in time will prove themselves in showing that COVID vaccine and healthy habits are the way we work against the pandemic. Thank you.
Second negative, cross-examined. First affirmative. 2 minutes.
So it's okay. Good morning. And so it's reaching the herd immunity your goal.
Yes.
And as you stated that the government becomes helpless and have no solution when the pandemic over. Do you have the evidence?
Yes.
Okay. Please give it to my teammates. And as you stated that America has reached the herd immunity. Do you have the evidence?
Most of the Omicron publication has got vaccines, and they are now.
So what's the exactly percentage?
Okay, I will listen to the second today.
Okay. And as you mentioned that the America's economy are destroyed. Do you have the evidence for that?
We say that Taiwan's economy are destroyed, and I don't have that now.
And
as you said.
okay, thank you. And do you agree that there are still chances to be infected with COVID-19 after vaccinations?
Yes, there
Okay.
are still.
And are you going to second the epidemic measures after vaccinations?
Just say again.
Are you going to second the epidemic measures after vaccination? Okay, I'll move on. And are you aware that it will sacrifice human rights through mandating vaccination? Okay,
According to
I'll move on. Can you give the percentage of expected vaccination rate of your plan?
we're now going to force about vaccination means that government they can represent the vaccine. Expand those who are in high risk of
Please directly answer my question. Can you give the exact percentage of expected vaccination rate? Okay. Can you prove the significance of those extra percentage of your plan?
First negative constructive speech. 4 minutes.
Honorable judges and fellow debaters, I am the first negative. We, the negative side, firmly states that the Taiwanese government should not mandate COVID-19 vaccinations, and I'll go through the reasons of our belief. In the first affirmative speech, they said that the Taiwanese economy is distraught, but if you actually take a look at the statistics of the economic growth rate in the past 10 years, you will see that even though the growth rate has dropped, but it dropped in a very reasonable level comparing to the past 10 years. So Taiwanese economy should be fine for now. And the current situation in Taiwan is that vaccination process has been constant, and that in the past few weeks, domestic infections have been either zero or close to zero. So that would mean that the Taiwanese community is looking rather safe. And as I just stated, over the previous months, our society has been constant in the vaccination process, and according to the Taiwanese CDC, we have already reached around 80% vaccinated for the first dose, and the vaccination rates for the second dose would be around 60%. And the number would show that the vaccination willingness of the Taiwanese people has been high, and a lot of people have already been vaccinated. So, due to the reasons above, we believe that such forceful and radical policies is completely necessary. And the 8th Constitution of our country clearly states that personal freedom shall be guaranteed to the people. And making vaccination mandatory would be an obvious violation of our Constitution and people's quality and integrity, and robbing the people of their freedom of choice. And that could cause public distrust towards the government. And due to the current status of Taiwan, there is no need to make such sacrifice. The 23rd Constitution could infringe our personal freedom, but that's only when it's completely necessary. And it clearly isn't, since there are other precautions that can be taken to actually reach the same effect, like COVID passes or rapid tests or PCR tests within the past 3 days. And combined with current quarantine measures, that could effectively prevent the virus spread. And as the affirmative side has agreed in the cross-examination, the protection a vaccine provides is not absolute either. Studies have shown that the protection a vaccine provides will drop over time. And not only that, South Korea and Singapore are 2 countries that have over 80% of their population fully vaccinated. But even after such high coverage of vaccination, the daily confirmed cases still surge due to breakthrough infections. And that shows that even with higher coverage of vaccination, there could still be infections that we can't prevent. So their solvency is very much questionable. And studies have shown, the affirmative has stated that their goal is to reach herd immunity. And studies have shown that reaching the herd immunity threshold is looking unlikely because of factors such as emergence of new variants and the delayed arrival of vaccinations for children. And with so many different factors, inferences on how many percent it would take to reach the herd immunity threshold would be near impossible. And even CDC said that 60 to 70% is only a conjecture. So implementing such a radical policy on something that's so uncertain would be unwise and even reckless. And the vaccines aren't risk-free either. To give an example, BNT is the only available choice for adolescents right now. And for the adolescent boys, the risks of getting myocarditis from the second dose is around 373 per million people, according to the National Library of Medicine. And these side effects that could potentially harm the community's well-being is one of the reasons why the government shouldn't mandate vaccination. And the vaccines are only recently developed, so we have no long-term data about it. And without long-term data, there will be no knowing of what might come in the future. And there's something that could potentially affect the people's choices after the mandate. The idea is that anything forbidden becomes more desirable. Our brains will pay more attention to things that we aren't allowed to have.
First affirmative. Cross-examine. First negative. 2 minutes.
Good morning.
Could you please say about what would happen if we didn't maintain the COVID-19 vaccination?
As the status quo shows, nothing will happen.
So,
If you take a look at the status quo, we are doing fine right now.
but the government's obligation is not only maintain the current situation, but also prepare for the future. Like we are now facing the Omicron variant virus, and it's an unknown virus. So, the only thing we can do now is to get vaccines and protect ourselves.
Is that a question?
Again, sorry. To say that it's not happening now, is that it is?
Yes.
But the government's obligation is not only maintained for a current situation, but also preparing for the future. Is this correct?
Well, yes.
So, we are now facing a new variant virus like Omicron. Is it correct?
Yes.
So, I think we should, what we can do to prevent the Omicron virus? Do you have any plan or what to do?
Well, as I just said, we can use current quarantine measures with rapid tests or PCR tests within the past 3 days to prevent the virus spread.
But as we can see, there are many confirmed cases that is still, after many times of PCR tests, that it couldn't be tested by positive side. And how would you,
Could you please rephrase your question?
there are some confirming cases that have taken many times of PCR tests. And thank you.
Second affirmative. Constructive speech. 4 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to make a brief response to the previous discussion. First, the negative side holds the ideal belief that wearing masks and keeping a safe social distance can help control the pandemic. But we are having doubts about it. The outbreak of the pandemic in May this year in Taiwan had resulted in a quick closure to schools and many other public places. Before that happened, everyone was wearing a face mask and following the high standard regulations of social distance measures. It wasn't until the vaccination was implemented that the situations could gradually be controlled. From this, we understand that wearing face masks can only be a supplementary measure, which cannot really kill the COVID virus. So here's the thing that we want to emphasize again. We believe that the top priority of our government is to ensure a healthy body of each other citizen. If there is a sudden outbreak resulting from a small number of supercarrier of coronavirus, how should the government do to prevent this minority of people from infecting each other? Again, prevention is better than redemption. The first mistake in Taiwan won't become the second mistake. Secondly, the countrywide lockdown from around the world has already broken down the economy and life of the whole nation. And we should not let it happen again. This is, if the confirmed case cannot be controlled, the lockdown will return very soon. Should Taiwan's government lock down the cities one more time at the expense of remaining the status quo? Everyone's life is priceless. Take those who run the business or fitness center, cross-country logistics, crime school, or restaurant, for example. They were faced with several economic plight and could barely survive the lockdown even with the subsidy by the government. What's worse, American workers would also cause another problem under the lockdown. For example, the Indian migrant workers have drawn the world's attention when business migrant workers, resulting in a nationwide lockdown under the pandemic. As you can see from our report analysis from the world leading social media and public academic association. Third, there are more and more viral virus, such as India virus and Omicron virus. Wearing face masks and taking prevention measures can only reduce the chance of infection. But vaccination can really help us improve the immune system back to the unknown virus. Thank you.
First negative, cross-examine, second affirmative. 2 minutes.
Greetings. Do you agree that we are doing fine right now? The status quo is fine. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that the status quo right now is fine? That we are living a somewhat normal life right now? Okay, I'll move on. Do you have proof that it's because of vaccination that we are fine right now?
Yes.
Yes, okay, then please present it to my teammate later. And you said that lockdown will return very soon if we don't implement this policy, yes? Okay, I'll move on then. You said that this policy was to prepare for the future, yes? Okay, well, do you have proof that the vaccine will actually work on the future variants of the virus? Okay. And you said that you have doubts on the status quo right now. Do you have proof of that? Okay, and are you aware of the side effects that vaccines can bring? Are you aware of the side effects that vaccines can bring? And are these low infection in America? Are there low infection rates in America after reopening? Are there low infection rates in America after reopening? Do you have proof of that? So that's just your presumption then.
Second negative, constructive speech. 4 minutes.
Honorable judges and fellow debaters, this is the second speaker of the negative. My teammates had already pointed out a wide range of questionable details and obvious flaws of the affirmative, and now I'm going to dive deeper into them. I'll start with the rebuttal. And they failed to give the exactly expected percentage of vaccination rates, which shows that the plan is not comprehensive, and they failed to answer the epidemic measures after vaccination. And as we stated that, maintain those epidemic measures, but also we also encourage vaccination with high vaccination rates in Taiwan. And as the authorities stated, agree that Omicron made vaccine less effective. So with that uncertain situation, we should not impose that extreme policy. And in the field of human rights is protected by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. As a country we values democracy and human rights, we should preserve basic rights such as body integrity. And according to World in Data, a collaborative effort between researchers from the University of Oxford, Singapore's and Korea's vaccination rate is higher than Taiwan's. But the outbreak still happened, showing that outbreak can still happen in countries with high vaccination rates. What we are trying to prove is that even in a high vaccination rate situation, the outbreak could still happen, showing the uncertainty of the epidemic. And as the authorities stated that they wanted to reach the herd immunity, but the vaccination rate in Taiwan is 79.27% now. And according to Thomson Little, an infectious disease specialist at Hattiesburg Clinic, COVID-19 variants are disrupted and would make prediction of herd immunity harder. With the uncertain herd immunity, The Article 23 of Constitution should not be an excuse to infringe on human rights. And according to the CDC, breakthrough infections are an ongoing problem, and that we are not sure whether the infectivity is higher or not. So I want to reiterate that instead of forcing people to be vaccinated, a better way is that people make choices for themselves. That's the essence of democracy. And according to a credible psychologist and many studies, there is a psychological phenomenon called the forbidden fruit effect. It indicates that if you mandate somebody to do something, they would not like to obey just because of compulsion. So the affirmative plan is relatively not feasible because they limit the alternative of not getting vaccinated, which will affect Taiwanese intention of getting vaccinated. There has been protests in countries such as France and Belgium, which are also the democratic countries after mandating vaccinations. And according to Constitution 23, we have to consider the proportionality, the severity of the epidemic, and the Taiwanese intention of vaccinations. And according to the UN rights chef say that in no circumstances should people be forcibly administered a vaccine. We have to consider human rights as an important thing. According to the Taiwan Centers for Disease Control, which is called CDC, so far the vaccination rate of Taiwan is 27% now. It indicates that people in Taiwan are willing to get vaccinated. So why do we have to take that high pressure measure to mandate COVID-19 vaccinations? Okay. So as the negative, we strongly believe that the government should not mandate COVID-19 vaccinations. Thank you.
Second affirmative, cross-examine. Second negative. 2 minutes.
You said the government should encourage people in Taiwan to get vaccinated.
Yes.
So do you think it is necessary to vaccine?
We agree that vaccine has its efficacy, but not agree through mandate.
Do you think wearing a mask and keeping a safe social distance can effectively control the pandemic?
But also with high vaccination rate in Taiwan.
Which is important, life or freedom?
Freedom. I did not agree with your question that with that high vaccination rate, doesn't mean that we will lose our life if we're not mandating vaccination.
Thank you.
Preparation period for rebuttal speech, 5 minutes.